What's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be giving you one of the most useful playstyles in the game. I use this playstyle all the time in cash cups and whenever I'm fighting a super aggressive player in arena. This playstyle is called the defensive aggressive playstyle, and you'll see why in a second. First off, in this video, I'm going to describe what this playstyle is, how to use it, when to use it, and then we'll get into some in-game examples. But for the most part, the clips you're seeing on screen throughout this video are the defensive aggressive playstyle. Anyways, guys, don't forget to check out the merch, vibeandjivan.store. We got a new merch drop coming very shortly. And don't forget to use code JivanTV in the item shop. Now let's get right into this video. So like I said, we're going to start out by describing this playstyle. The title of it basically describes it. Defensive aggressive, playing defensively while also playing offensively. Let's break down what that means. The best way to describe it is you want to be creating distance, walking backwards in a fight while the enemy pushes forward. While you're doing this, you need to keep your eyes on the enemy, watch where they're going. Since you're moving backwards in the fight, they're oftentimes going to be pushing forward at you. So this gives you a really good opportunity to set up traps and peek shots on the enemy while they're cycling forward towards you. A good way to describe this is kind of like piece controlling backwards in a fight. You're setting up traps while walking backwards and the enemy might walk into some of those traps. This is really good because it makes it harder for the enemy to catch up and actually piece control you since you're creating distance throughout the fight. It can also trick the enemy into thinking you're kind of scared throughout the fight. They may think, oh, this guy doesn't want to fight, maybe he's weak, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. But in reality, you're actually setting up traps for them and you know exactly what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing with this playstyle yet, don't worry. Like I said, we're going to be going into examples very shortly, but let's do a quick recap first. I use this playstyle in cash cups because it's really good for outplaying sweats. It's also really good for when you're weak because it's very defensive. Something a lot of people struggle with is when they get weak in a fight, they'll constantly run. But the enemy's just going to keep on chasing you unless you do a little damage back. So this playstyle is really good for getting that damage dealt back to the enemy so that they have to go heal and you can get some heals off yourself. So this playstyle is great for setting up peaks, for piece controlling backwards, for counter piece control, avoiding getting piece controlled in other words, avoiding 50-50s, and setting up peek shots from below. Last thing that you need to know before we get into the examples, and this one is crucial. Since this is a more so defensive playstyle, once you get damage dealt on the enemy and they go to heal up, you need to switch into offensive mode. The reason this playstyle is so good is because it's a great way to counter a player that's very aggressive. But as soon as they stop pushing you and stop being aggressive, you need to switch into offensive mode so that you can finish the fight. Otherwise, the fight will go on forever. Very important. So now that we covered all of that, let's get into these examples. Okay, so for the first example, I'm just going to show you what I mean by piece controlling backwards. So let's say the enemy is pushing me from maybe over there or maybe up there. What I mean by piece controlling backwards is kind of going like this. Let's say he drops down on this side here, we can set up a cone there. But we just keep going backwards, we can go for peek shots above like that. You just place the wall afterwards. You just keep going backwards. Maybe I'll go like this for a little bit if I need to create more distance. He goes up to this wall, I can piece control here, set up a peek like that. And then as soon as I get some damage dealt, let's say I get him pieced up right here. He pressures that wall, I get him pieced up, and I deal some damage. That's when I move into aggressive mode. He's probably going to start running away at this point, and I move into aggressive mode. You can kind of see how this is super useful. You know, you're tunneling backwards. The enemy's not going to be able to piece control you because not only are you creating distance, you're also kind of counter piece controlling. By taking that cone, he can't place that cone, so he can't get that piece control on you. And he's going to be trying to catch up the whole fight while you're creating distance. And you own all these builds that you can run back to and make plays with. Time to get into the actual in-game examples. This clip is a really good one to start out with. It showcases how to take peek shots from below. This is a really useful skill. I start so many fights with health advantages, even in cash cups, with this peek shot. This type of peek shot is especially useful with the charge, as you can see, because it does so much damage from far away. Let me slow this down for you. So right here, I side jump to get closer to his lair and set up this box. Once the enemy starts peeking here, it's a perfect time to go for this shot. All you do is jump backwards, take the shot, but as soon as you shoot, you build a wall above you. That'll block any shots they have on you, and it's a perfect peek. So next clip is a really good example of how this works when they're aggressing you while you're weak. When you get weak in a fight, they're not going to stop pushing you unless you get damage dealt to them or a third party shows up. So when I get into this situation where they're playing super aggressive, that's when I start tunneling away doing the piece control backwards technique. So at this point in the fight, I was trying to get these heals off, but he starts pushing my wall. So I place a ramp behind me, tunnel away another box, and I watch them very carefully. I see him going to the left side, and this is a perfect opportunity to catch him off guard and get that damage dealt so I can heal up. Typically, when I do the piece controlling backwards, it doesn't take long to find an opportunity to do some damage to the enemy. Anywho, I end up finishing the fight later on. This next fight was so nice. I'm gonna let you watch it real quick. Okay, so lots of good stuff to unpack from that fight. First off, I tried to do that peek shot from below but missed, but right here is another good example of piece controlling backwards. By placing these cones, it gives me more space to move and scout out the enemy. Right here, I'm holding the cone just in case he drops on it so I can drop him in my box. But he ends up spraying from above, so I know he's peeking over his floor. Therefore, I go for a side jump shot and get some damage dealt. I try to go for a few more, but he wasn't peeking anymore. Now, something to note here is he has the floor over top of me. Anytime that happens, I place a ramp over my head immediately to block their piece control. At this point in the fight, I still am branched out 2 boxes, so I have room to move. I wait until he starts to drop on one of my walls here. As soon as I see him dropping on the wall, I build the wall before he can, and that gives me a chance to set up this peek shot, but I miss my shot, all good. That's when I see him go out the side and I have a perfect opportunity to fully piece control him and finish the fight. After getting that first shot, I boxed out the back just in case he turned around and went that way, but it also gave me the wall so I could take the last peek. In this situation, this player was aggressing me really hard because I had just finished a fight, but we did a very simple example of the piece controlling backwards technique and caught him off guard. You can see I literally branch out, go back to the other box to take a peek shot, and yeah, it was just a really quick cleanup. This next fight we saw earlier on in the video, but it's a really good example, so we're gonna slow it down. Right off the bat, I see him pushing to my left, so I keep my distance. I'm trying to avoid a 50-50. As soon as he starts aggressing forward, I immediately have a piece control opportunity. However, he claims the sidewalls. I see him going out the left, so I quickly throw cones in there and I get the front wall as well, and that's where I finish the fight. By doing this playstyle, keeping your distance, waiting for the enemy to push first, you create so many opportunities for yourself because you're avoiding 50-50s, you're waiting for them to make the first move and countering based off how they make that first move. It's a great way to approach fights, especially in a cash cup where there's not much room for error. One of the biggest goals in fights is to avoid those 50-50s, and so playing backwards in a fight, keeping that distance up is a great way to do that. That last fight you just saw is the last example we're going to be breaking down. So this first peek shot I take is a good example of what not to do. When I take the shot, I don't place that upper wall. Instead, I try to place a floor over my head, and because of that, I get shot. Always place the wall. After that is a move I do all the time. As you can see, I edit my cone upwards and place another cone over top of it. Following that, I jump over my cone, reset it, and edit the top cone. This is a really sneaky way to get up to the enemy's lair fast and sneakily. They usually don't see it coming. Sadly, I missed my shot, then my pump didn't shoot, and then we did like 30 damage on the last one. But at this point, I have the enemy weak. When you get the enemy weak when playing this playstyle, you gotta start aggressing. When I get on the opponent's wall here, I see the enemy has his gun out, which means he's trying to pre-fire. So I keep baiting it. I keep getting the wall one shot so that the enemy shoots his own wall and gives me an opportunity to get in. And then I finish it with a really nice far edit right here to clean up the fight. Beautiful last example. I hope this video helps you guys out. If you're really struggling with solo cash cup fighting or fighting against really sweaty players, I recommend watching the video which is about to pop up on your screen. In that video, I break down fights against pros in the recent solo cash cup. In those fights, you might see more examples of the defensive, aggressive playstyle. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, sub if you're new, use code JivanTV, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.